Welcome to Nailed It, a podcast featuring business tips from industry leaders, presented by Clever Punch. Here's your host, Jade Flogerzi.
Welcome back to another episode of Nailed It. We're back for another season, and to kick things off, we have a guest today that I'm really looking forward to talking to. We have joining us Michelle Gravitt. She's the founding principal of Studio M Hospitality Design, and they're a design firm from Atlanta, Georgia, specializing in full-scale hospitality projects, including new hotel construction, renovations, and conversions. So her journey began at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, where she earned her associate's and bachelor's degrees in interior design, graduating summa cum laude with multiple awards for her sustainable hotel design thesis. Over the past decade, she's built an impressive portfolio from luxury residences to boutique hotels, senior living, and projects for hospitality giants like Hilton, IHG, and Marriott. Now, beyond design, Michelle founded Studio M with a mission to give back and support vulnerable women through community outreach. At home, she's married to her husband, David, for 23 years, and the proud mom to John, Ryan, and Anna. Michelle joins us today to share about Studio M, including the mission behind their work. Welcome to the podcast, Michelle.
Thank you, Jade. I'm really excited to be here.
Me too. I'm so happy to have you. So I'd love to start by getting to know a little bit more about your business. I do want to dive into the community involvement that you do. But as I said in your intro, you work in the hospitality industry. You're an interior designer. What is it like to work with your clients? What's it like to work with hotel owners?
It's amazing. I have to say the reason why I fell in love with hospitality was for the people. So I live in the South. Hospitality is an art form here. And connecting with people inside of an organization, an industry, that's a driving need to make people feel welcome, is kind of cohesive and just blended naturally for me. I think what has always been beautiful for me and what I've appreciated the most is how relational my clients are. So they value respect and mutual support and trust. For me as a designer, that just makes an environment where collaboration thrives instead of it being one person leading the way. So I really enjoy that aspect of it. And I also feel like on the relational side of things, it doesn't just make them great business partners. It makes them really cool and interesting people to know. So in a lot of ways, working alongside of them has not only strengthened my professional endeavors, but it's also enriched my life personally. So it's been really sweet.
Do you tend to work with, if you have a client that's a hotel owner, will it just be one time that you have that relationship, or do you tend to have the same client in multiple projects?
Sure. Yeah, no, we definitely are founded on repeat business. The majority of my clients I have been working with for almost my entire career. I have been to weddings and know the names of their children. I've watched their kids grow up. We have relationships with each other where, we lean into each other both personally and professionally. They call and ask opinions. And so it's very foundational to our business that we have these close-knit relationships with our clients. And by doing that, we find that mutual trust and respect leads to more business.
When you have a client and a hotel project, how long is that relationship for that project?
2+ years. So
wow.
It starts as kind of an initial conversation, and then we, work our way through the interior design process as far as what the space is going to look like. But we work closely with architects at the beginning phases of the project. So there's a lot of, back and forth and problem solving that goes on. We collaborate closely with the hotel brand to ensure brand standards are met. There's a lot of submittals that go on. There's a lot of details in the construction industry that change and move and pivot. So there's a lot of problem solving. And I find that, having to problem solve with our clients early on in the process builds trust because we're doing things in a manner that's best for them and for the project instead of, just taking the shortest way or the most cost-effective way, but what is in their best interest. So I think once they see that a couple of times in the beginning, they learn that we're for them and not necessarily for profit on our end. So, yeah.
That's so cool. I love learn. This is one of my favorite things about talking to business owners and learning what they do is realizing that there's even these niches and industries that I would have never thought of. When I go through a hotel, I don't think about why that couch is blue. And was it Marriott that said it needed to be blue, or was it the hotel owner that wanted it to be blue? And so it's so cool to learn about you and your business and how you sit in the middle of those two dynamics and problem solve and find like the solution where both are appeased. It's so interesting. I love it. So from your experience, I loved hearing what you love about working with these clients. What do you think they appreciate most about working with you?
I hope that we work really hard on relational aspects of our business and then building trust. I think for me, I try to be very servant minded. My team is very servant minded. So we genuinely value human connection. Everybody has to work. We're kind of in a society where we all have to have jobs. So it's nice if you're working to have human connection with people. Just makes the days go by quicker, faster, easier. So we want our clients to know that they have access to us. We want them to know that they have access to our skill set, our knowledge base. And I think the team in general has sort of this, the buck stops here mentality. Oftentimes we find problems or growth opportunities that are somewhat outside of our scope of work where, the client calls us and they're like, hey, what do we need to do about this? And while it's not technically in my scope, I'll either point them in the direction of where that answer is found, connect them to the person that can help, or even sometimes make the phone call myself. And so I hope that for them, they know that if they need anything, whether it's professionally or personally, that they can call us.
That's so cool. And how many people are on your team?
We are a team of 4. So
Nice.
a small business, and we kind of like it that way because it allows us to have that close-knit personal connection. A lot of times, and I worked at a larger firm for a while. And so a lot of times it's you call this person and then you get bounced to this person or this person. And this person may do your project this time and then somebody else next time. And so we just find that keeping things small and tight knit allows our clients to get to know us individually and build trust with us, on different levels. And we also don't operate from a man on an island approach. So we're all working together to solve problems continuously. It's not, that's Michelle's project, so that's her problem. There's been multiple times where, somebody on our team is copied on the email, and before I can even take a look at it, they're already answering the question. So it's been a really sweet experience to kind of prioritize that collaboration over competition inside of the firm itself.
I can see why clients would that would be one of the top things that they appreciate about working with you is that communication, because all of us can relate to that, how that's becoming less and less common of an experience is just talking to a person, or like you said, for them to actually take ownership right then and there and take your request and see it through. So I'm sure that really stands out. Now, one of the first things that I learned about Studio M is how deeply committed you are to giving back. Can you share a little bit more about the mission behind Studio M and why it's such an important part of your work?
Sure. So this is something I'm very passionate about. I think my faith drives me in all aspects of my life. So I came to a place where I had gotten very active and involved in ministry work, specifically in the area of women's ministry. And that ministry continued to grow and change to where I started working pretty heavily with a foundation organization that helps women who are seeking freedom from addiction. So I started volunteering in that center. I teach Bible study there. I mentor the women there. And as that grew, it started overlapping into my work life. So as relationships were formed and trust was built, there were phone calls that were on my lunch break, or, I have to stop in the middle of a meeting and run and take a call. And so through a lot of prayer, it just became evident that I needed to clear time and space in my schedule to do that. And what's kind of funny about this is that I never actually wanted to run my own business. It's not something that I thought was an avenue that I'd ever approach. But the business aspect of it has allowed me to, continue to help provide for my family, but also be in control of my schedule and clear space for ministry and missions, and then also direct the profits back into what I consider meaningful work, which is empowering women to know and understand who Jesus is, how much he loves them, how he sees them, and how he has a plan and purpose for their life.
So just so I understand, when you started getting more involved in your ministry work, were you working for someone else at the time?
Yes, I was. I was employed at a larger firm that's pretty well known here in Atlanta, and I could not. I loved my job. I loved my company. I was in a place of complete contentment. Loved the people that I worked with, but it was a very traditional, office environment, 40-hour work week, and I just didn't have. I didn't feel like I was doing them a good service by having to take days off or time off. I have to take the morning off to go handle this or the afternoon for this. And so I just felt like it was time to just step away from that traditional office environment. It was a huge leap of faith for me because, I stepped into an arena that more often than not, is impossible. So you can't jump from a design firm to I do this by myself and pay me to do it instead.
So when you started your own business, this was like one of, if not the main driving force of wanting to carve out more time and have like that flexibility, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think for us, it is this mission of representing Christ in the community through actions instead of words is the driving force behind everything that we do. So inside of our firm, all of us are believers and we walk this out daily. So this idea of being relational with each other, being relational with our community, it's more than design. It becomes design with a purpose. So my clients know and understand my faith. They value and respect me as an individual. So they support our endeavors. We were very bold when we came out and discussed the mission for our business, but bringing women into a space where they know that they have value and worth and are able to thrive, not just professionally, but personally inside of a business and then outside in community. I think it drives everything that I do.
I'm curious now because remind us when Studio M was founded.
We are actually turning 2 years old next month. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that you're 2 years into it, has it been hard to still carve out that time, the energy and time that's needed for the mission part of your life? How do you balance that when business demands are high, or do you have a hard time with those boundaries?
I think for me, the business is the mission and the mission is the business. So they overlap with each other. I also know just from life experience that nothing worthwhile is easy. So I think it's, for me, my priorities, where they are and where they lie. The business overlaps into ministry pretty seamlessly. We mentor in mission inside of our business. We mentor in mission outside of our business. Honestly, I will source things out to people to free up time. I think it comes down to where your treasure lies, there also your heart will be, right? So if you prioritize and you value something, you will work to achieve those ends. And so for me, it's a no compromise situation. We committed at the very beginning to give 10% of everything we brought back into our business, back into the community. So that roughly translates to about 20% of our profit. I work at the business and then I trust God to give me time and space to do ministry. I think for me, it's where is my priority? And so this past 2 years has really been an exercise of, do I trust God with my time? Do I believe that he's going to equip and prepare me for the mission that he's calling me to? And surprisingly enough, it's worked out brilliantly. There's doors that open when I'm not expecting them to. There's things that we originally intended to do that were not for us. So we pivoted and moved in another direction. But what I constantly have seen over the last 2 years is just an incredible amount of faithfulness to our business. We hired 3 people within our first year. We have been able to donate a good bit of money back into our local community. And that has been incredibly rewarding. I just can't explain it. I don't understand it other than just walking in purpose. So
You mentioned earlier that one of your main goals is to lead with actions instead of words. And religion is something that's obviously polarizing to people and also very personal to people. Do you ever struggle with how forward to be about your work? Or was your plan just like, I'm just going to be who I am and have it all out there, and it's up to other people to decide if they want to work with us or if that's a deterrent?
Sure. So I try very hard to be authentic, and I don't ever want to approach business or any other aspect of my life as being disingenuous. So for me, my faith is my faith. And the way I have always found it best to handle that is like Jesus did. He walked in a way that was humble, servant-hearted, kind, and spoke truth. And so I think for me, I have to earn the right to share my faith with people. It's not something that I just, walk into Walmart and decide to evangelize the person who's trying to shop for bananas. I think that, relationship and being me to me at the table is where those conversations happen. That's what my personal experience was. I had somebody that came into my life after a very long and tragic past that decided that they would walk alongside me and give me space to feel safe, to ask hard questions, to explore, and to understand the character of who Christ is based on who he says he is and the way he has responded to humans instead of false narratives or paintings or pictures about him. But I don't think that that's something that I feel comfortable hitting somebody with out of the gate. I would not have heard it and did not want to hear it until the person that was speaking it had the right to share that in my life. And the way she did that was genuine. She built relationship and trust with me. So yes and no. I am a professing believer, and I will make it plain that that's where I stand, but I try to do it in a way that is respectful and kind. And loving and not forceful, because, I don't think you can have love without choice.
And do you, I know you mentioned a little bit about the benefits that you've seen having gone in this direction, made these decisions. Have you been surprised did you expect it to be more of a sacrifice to dedicate time, energy, finances to this and have it maybe affect your business negatively? Or has the benefits been really surprising to you?
So I think both. When the business itself was started, it was started with the mindset that if this is for me, then this will happen. And if it's not, then it won't. So I think it kind of is shaped about what your definition of success is, right? So for me, I don't find success in money and things and titles and status and whatnot. I find success in relationships and how people relate to me and the experience that they have with me as a human when they leave me. I knew that it was either going to go in the direction I had hoped, or it was going to teach me something extremely valuable. So with all of that said, I find that yes, it is harder, and no, it's not harder. It's harder because there's work involved and that work has to get done, but it's not harder because it's passion and there's a desire to do those things. There's a desire to be involved in people's lives. Ministry in any capacity is messy. Relationships with people are messy. We're human beings, right? So there's always going to be challenges, but I think there's always an opportunity to give grace. And I think there's always an opportunity to grow and learn from those situations. How it impacts the business as a whole, we find that being servant-minded benefits us more than it doesn't. So having a servant-minded perspective for us inside of business is actually more beneficial than if we focus on profit, because people value people and they return because they know that the service that I'm providing is going to be what they need and that they can trust me to do it and do it correctly.
It's so cool. I read on the website, and forgive me because I'm not remembering the name correctly, but that one of the big focuses of giving back and a future goal that you're working towards is, I want to say it's called a Hope Center.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the name. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Tell us
So
more about.
yeah, that's the big mountaintop dream. So for me, what I found working with women in crisis is that we get them to a place in facilities where we rehabilitate, right? And they spend a year or 18 months and they're clean and they're sober and they have a fresh perspective and they've kind of been living in this bubble of love and care and concern. And then we take them and we throw that back out into a world that wants to systematically destroy all of that progress. And so Hope House is a dream of continued community support. So it is, mentoring. A lot of the women that we come into contact with inside of our ministry, nobody has ever believed in them their whole life. And that's heartbreaking. So I think as a woman that having experienced even a fraction of that in our world, you can relate to what it feels like for somebody not to believe in you. And I think the human spirit is super resilient and it just takes one person to say, yeah, you can do that. You're allowed to dream, and then teach them, walk alongside them and teach them what it looks like. How do you file for, paperwork to get back on track with, resources, and how do you, navigate the resources that you have? How do you work through legal challenges? Where can I find help and what can I do? And then that sense of community where your people are cheering you on and you know that if you need help, you'll have it. So it's kind of this idea that we don't just turn them loose, but we continue to help them thrive. A lot of these women are single moms. A lot of them, want to go back to school, but they don't have resources. Some of them, have legal challenges and all of these things in society that whether they are their choice or not, they compound this feeling of shame and failure. And so it stops the idea of being able to dream. And what my hope and my goal is to remind them, yes, you can. You don't have to keep going in the same direction. You can stop and choose something new. And so the idea is to have this center that's a resource center for medical needs, for legal needs, for childcare needs, for, a sense of community and fellowship, for continued mentoring and leadership and accountability. But to do that in a way that's authentic and genuine and right? It's not just, oh, look at me. We did this wonderful thing. Now I can go home. It is people joining arms with other people to help them grow.
And will this be a physical place?
Yes, it's my hope that it will eventually be somewhere near or next to the center that we volunteer with, so that it would be an extension of that. So right now, the center has a phase 3 program where they actively try to stay involved in the lives of the women that have graduated. And we're looking at, possibility of more transitional housing for them. So our firm has had the opportunity to come alongside them and sort of renovate some of those spaces that these women live in. But they're turning over graduates at a rapid rate. And part of the struggle is, it's difficult in our economy to make it work on $7 an hour. So having transitional housing so we don't throw somebody back into a world where they can't survive and they're continuing to be exposed to the challenges that are in the world, right? And then go back to behavioral patterns.
Yeah. Do you have an idea how far off you are from that goal, or is that just too early to know?
I don't know. I think that's where the trust comes in. Like, I know that it's going to happen. It seems super impossible, but as my grandmother used to say, you can only eat a bear one bite at a time. So that's kind of where we're at. I would love for this to be within the next 5 years. We're talking about a major undertaking. I would love for the business itself to be able to fully fund that. Right now, we're focused on immediate needs within the community and kind of those organizations as a whole. But eventually, I know that it will work.
Yeah, that's very, very inspiring. I think a lot of business owners have the desire to do more give back, community. Maybe some feel pressure that they are supposed to do that. I think a lot of business owners want to, but they're unsure what to do or what organizations to trust. Do you have any advice for business owners who want to make this a part of their work?
Yeah. So I think for me, I also had that same, speculation. It's very difficult in today's society to try to find honest people, and they hide in places where you think trustworthy people live. So my recommendation would be to find out what's available in your community and show up. That's what I did. I just started showing up to the places that were in my community, volunteered with them, got to know the people that were involved in the mission, and started relationship with them. And then after that, and after I knew and understood, okay, like they are who they say they are, and I see the tangible work that's being done here, then I started pouring resources into those places. And that was actually a really beautiful way to do it, because by the time I realized that they were genuine and authentic and actually had a heart to help, I was so ingratiated inside of the ministry and the organization itself that it made me want to give more than what I probably would have given had I just sent a check, right? And the things that I have learned volunteering are priceless, because you walk into an organization like that thinking that you're going to do good, and you leave changed.
So cool. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's been really great hearing about this, the why behind what you do at Studio M. And I hope that anyone listening realizes not just how great of an opportunity it would be to work with you, but more about what's deeper behind that and the why behind what makes you and your team so wonderful to work with. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Jade. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Nailed It, business tips from industry leaders, brought to you by Clever Punch. Nailed It is all about connecting with people, building relationships, and helping each other. If you're interested in connecting with any of the guests on our episodes, you can find their contact info in our show notes or on the podcast page at cleverpunchco.com. You can also email info@cleverpunchco.com with any questions or feedback. I'm your host, Jade Flogerzi. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.